Hello, this is video training. Sales and Inventory, Level 3, Chapter 1. Computer Suggested Orders. All right, let's begin. From the main menu, we'll hit Inventory Control. Where we're going to be going is into Orders. And what this chapter is all about is telling the computer to say, hey, you tell me what I should order. Go through my inventory and give me a suggested order. Now, we can do that one of three ways. Before we get into the ordering section to actually show you how to do it, let's go in and look at a typical inventory record. Inventory maintenance and reports. I'm going to go into Inventory Master File. I'm going to look up a pot number. Now, I just want to make you aware of a couple of fields that we're going to be talking about a little bit later. There are three different ways of telling the computer to order. A couple of them are very manual, very labor intensive. I'll go over those first, and then last I'll go over the one that probably is what we prefer you to use. We have a thing called PAR, and if you look here, there's a field that says max/par. What PAR means, PAR method means that, look at, if I type a number in there, maybe it being 200, and I tell the computer that on this particular supplier I want to use a PAR method, it is going to look at that number, look at my on-hand balance, and whenever that on-hand balance gets less than that number, it will order the appropriate amount to put me back up to 200. If I sold today and my balance was 150, it would then go up and say, you should order 50 to put me back up to 200. That's a PAR method. It's just a number. You'll order more frequently. Typically, whatever that number is, if I say 200 and I sell one and I have 199 in stock, it will order one to put me back up to 200. That's PAR method. There's also a method called min-max. Min-max means when I get down to 150, put me back up to 200. So when my on-hand balance gets to be anything less than 250, it's going to look to see how much it needs to order to put me back up to 200. So if I had 140, it'll obviously order 60 to put me back up to 200. There again, that's what we call a min-max. There's a PAR. There's also another method that's probably more preferred in modern times. That's looking at real sales. And I'm going to hit statistics and options. And let's look at year-to-date stats. When we say we want to create our own unique ordering formula, we do not want to use a min-max or a PAR. It's going to look at real live sales. What are we selling? If we're selling a lot of something, we should be stocking more. If we're not selling it, we should be stocking less. Well, if we look at the screen here, what the computer is doing, it's keeping track of what we call a floating calendar. What is a floating calendar? Well, if we look at this, this is my current month. This is what I'm selling right now this month, which happens to be happens to be March. If we look at March here, this is March 2007. This is March 2008. When April comes along, April 1st, whatever number's in here, what I sold in this current month, it'll get moved over to here, and this will get changed to 2008. So this is what we call a floating calendar. We're really looking at 13 months worth of history. I'm looking at January of 2008, February 2008. Obviously now it goes to March 2007. This is March 2008. So we've got kind of a nice 13-month worth of history. At the same time, we can see the last date that we sold it. We can see the last time that we've ordered it. We can see how many we've sold in the last year. We also have other information that we're keeping track of. We can go in and say, look, I want to see every customer that ever bought this pot. It'll always list the newest at the top. This was the total. That's what we sold it for that customer. This customer here paid $1.56 for it. It goes back, in this case, to 2000. We can click here and see who we've been ordering it from. We may be able to order this pot from various suppliers. Maybe we want to see what suppliers we've been ordering it from. Manual adjustments. What employees have been adjusting my inventory, made my inventory go down or made it go up. what customers have returned pots, who are all my alternate suppliers. Setting up alternate supplies and alternate numbers will be in the next chapter. Or we can do a pot inquiry, which tells me everything I want to know about this pot. For example, this pot we special ordered at once. We have it on 13 work orders. We sold it over the counter 45 times. We've had 5 returns. We've ordered it 3 times. We've adjusted the inventory 3 times, and we changed the price once. We can actually get a report and see every work order and customers we put that pot on, sales history, stock adjustments. So you can find out any detail you want about a particular pot. Okay, now we've looked at a typical inventory record and some of the fields that you can key in. Let's go into our ordering menu. Orders. Okay, there's a button over here called Change Ordering Formula. We're going to be talking about this area over here today. And what this area is I want to create an ordering formula. I want to tell the computer how I want you to order pots for me. Then I want you to go in and create the order for me and tell me what I should order based on how I told you to do it. So the first step is changing ordering formula. And these are the 3 methods that we talked about. Obviously, PAR method is very simple. Whatever's in that field, whatever you want to keep stocked, whatever that number is, that's what's going to keep your inventory in. It's going to keep it that way 12 months a year unless you go in and change it. Min-max is the same thing. Whatever you key in there, it's just going to keep you to that balance regardless of how many you're selling. These 2 methods are typically kind of old-fashioned, not used very much anymore nowadays. We highly recommend using the first one, create an ordering formula. Create an ordering formula will look at real live sales. It will not have you overstocking. It will also keep track of seasonal trends. For example, let's go in and look and see exactly how that will work. First question it's going to ask me, regardless of what method I picked, is what vendor do you want to use? For example, a vendor where it might be a 2-week lead time for when I order a pot to when I receive it. Maybe I want to stock a little bit more. Maybe I want to have a little bit more on the shelf versus a vendor where I know when I order it today, it typically comes in 2 days. So each vendor can have a completely different ordering formula. This is the same as convention we use everywhere. You can type in the vendor code that you know. You can type in a lookup and list all your vendors and pick the vendor that you're setting this particular formula for. Now it comes up to the screen here. This tells me what it was currently set at. If I don't want to change it, I can hit the escape key and we have done absolutely nothing. If I want to go in and change this, which is I do, it's asking me a series of questions. Let's just read the screen. When entering the number of months of sales statistics, keep the following in mind. Enter the number of months prefixed by a minus, negative, or a positive plus sign. The difference will be minus equals months that have just passed, plus months in the future. For example, remember when we looked at that record and we looked at that floating calendar? And we happen to be in March. If I put plus 3, I want to look at what I did last year, those following 3 months. What I did in April, May, and June. Plus 3 months. April, May, and June of last year. Plus whatever I'm doing so far current this month. So it's going to look at forward 3 months plus whatever the current month is. Now, if I just got the system, I don't have any history in the future, so you'd probably want to go backwards. But let's do in history in the future first. And we're going to come back and we're going to change this formula 3 or 4 different ways. I'm going to start off probably the formula that's most popular. Most people want to look 3 months ahead. So I'm just typing in 3. Next question it's going to say is, okay, I want to look at 3 months ahead. Keep in mind, that's going to look at April, May, and June of last year, as well as whatever I sold this month. The next question is okay, I know what to look at as far as sales to base your order on. What's the length of the stocking order? For example, let's take a typical example that I'm looking at really 4 months worth of data. I'm looking at 3 months ahead last year plus my current. So to make it easy, I sold 3 in each one of those months. which would make a total amount of sales to be 12. Now, if I said I want a 3-month stocking level, based on what I'm looking at, I would actually say, okay, I need to stock 12 on the shelf because I'm looking at my current month plus 3 ahead. I want 12 on the shelf. That's what I need. Now, if I have anything less than 12, it's going to order the appropriate amount to put me up to 12. If I say I want a 4-week stocking level, which is 1 month, it's going to divide it by 4 and say, okay, I'm going to divide it by 3 and say I want 4 on the shelf. So it's going to say I should have 4, and it's going to order the appropriate amount to put me to 4. If I have more than 4, it's going to say I don't need any. So based on what you pick here, you're going to be stocking more or less. If I put 6 weeks, it's going to say that I need 6 on the shelf. So keep that in mind. If you want your orders to be bigger and order less frequency, you'd want 3 months. Obviously, it'd say you need 12. Most people go with a 4-week stocking level. So what I'll do first is the common formula that most people use. It seems to work best for most people, which is looking 3 months ahead, looking at a 4-week stocking level. Now the next question is minimum pots sold. I'm looking at these 3 months plus my current. If I don't sell at least that number, I don't want to stock it. It isn't worth it. So let's say I want to make that number 3. If I don't sell at least 3 in that period, and probably 2 or 3 is what's commonly used. So I have to sell more than 2. If I only sold 2 in this time period, it's going to say, nope, don't even put it on the shelf. It ain't worth it. The next question is special orders. Now, here's an important question. Just because a particular customer came in and ordered a special pot doesn't necessarily mean I want to be stocking it. So I probably want to weed those out. Other than that, I'll be stocking pots that somebody ordered that maybe nobody's ever going to come back again and order it. So let's say I want to ignore 3 special orders. So 3 people came in, and when you get over 3, then maybe I should stock it. So I'm going to type in 3. We're not going to look at lost sales at this particular time. So we don't want, if you want to look at some lost sales, the computer will look at how many lost sales you've had, and normally you'd want a divisor. So if I had 10 lost sales, you may say, look, I don't want to count that 10 and add it to this number. What I want to do is maybe take my lost sales and divide it by 5 or 6. So let's just exclude lost sales for now. I'm going to hit OK. Now we just created an ordering formula for Yamaha that basically says look at 3 months worth of sales statistics, including my current. I want a 4-week stocking level. If I don't sell at least 2 in that period that I'm looking at, forget about it. I don't want to stock it. And if I did sell more than 2, but they were all special order pots for a customer, also ignore it. It'll also ask me if I want to print it out. Now I could go in here and create an ordering formula for each one of my vendors that I want to order pots for. But let's do this just so we can follow it through and see how it works. I now want to go in and say create a computer suggested order. Before I do that, let's do one thing. Just so you can really understand how this works. Let's go in to the sales program. I'm going to hit escape. I'm going to go to sales. And we're going to look at that one particular pot. And I'm just going to pick a customer here. And I'm going to type in this pot number. Now, I want to know how many I have in stock because I want to sell everything right out. So I'm going to hit the escape key. It tells me I have 543 in stock. So you know what? Let's sell the 543, which puts me down to 0. So now I'm going to sell this, which means I have none in stock. And it's a cash sale. We'll just do $910. Okay, so we've sold that pot. Now, from the main menu, I'm going into orders. And we've created our computer suggested order for Yamaha. Now let's go in and tell the computer, okay, go through my Yamaha inventory and tell me what I should order and what I shouldn't, based on how I told you to do it. So let's go into here, create computer suggested order. Now, there are 3 ways to do this. I could just say process all vendors, which means it's going to list all my vendors on the screen here, and it's going to give me a suggested order for all of them based on each individual ordering formula. Some could be min-max, some could be par, and some could be computer generated. I can do a lookup and choose the ones I want, or I can just type in the code. I'm going to type in Y for Yamaha. And now that I've got Yamaha on my list, I can either hit the escape, which means I'm not going to do anything, or I'm going to say process stock order now. Go through my inventory based on how I told you to do it and give me a suggested computer order. And it typically just takes a few minutes. Now that we've done that, we want to look and see, okay, what does this computer want me to order? Now, the easiest and most streamlined way to check this out is, as we went over in a prior chapter, we used special order recap, which was basically looking at that clipboard, and it listed everything that we put in there for ourselves as well as for customers and service work orders. Now what I want to do is the same thing, except I want to go into suggested orders, recap for my suggested orders right here. Now I do that, it basically looks very similar. So we've pretty much covered it. This is almost exactly the same as doing a special order, except we're just looking at computer-generated orders. And what it's telling me is that, okay, these are the vendors that I have suggested orders out there for you. In other words, I think you should order these pots. Here's the one that we just created. It's one pot. And it tells me I should order 554 of those, and the total cost is going to be $692. Now, this is exactly the same as what we went over on chapter 2. Left click will list. I want to list it. I want to see what it is. Now, obviously, we only have one pot here. I'm narrowing it down to one pot so you can get a good understanding of how this works. So let's go up to this one here, and I am going to left click, and it shows me that pot. Okay, computer says I should order 554 of those. This code 30 means that it was done by the computer. It's a computer suggested order. Let's click on it like we did in prior chapters and see what it did. Now, this is what we're looking at. And you can almost use a calculator to see how it created the order for you. It's telling me that I should order 554. Now, what it did to come up with that number, it's very, very simple. What we told it to do, and you're the one that told it to come up with that number, not the computer. You told the computer to look at 3 months ahead. Well, 3 months ahead is adding a 147, 927, and 0 for July, and also 543. Now, when you add those numbers together, it makes 1,706. Then we said we wanted a 3-month stocking level, so it's going to divide it by 3, which gives us a 569. Now, you're looking at that and you're saying, well, wait a minute, 569, the computer says I only should order 554. Well, why is that? What it's taking into consideration, if you look over here, current on order. I have 15 of these on order already. So what it's going to do, it's always going to look to see, hey, are there any that have been ordered prior to this? There is. There are 15 that are still on order that haven't come in yet. So it's subtracting those 15 from that 169. It will round up normally, and it's coming up with 554. So keep that in mind. It's going to add the numbers up as you told it. It's going to divide it by your stocking level of how you want to stock it. Like I told it to do 3 months. So it divided it by 3. Then it will subtract what you already have on order coming in, because it knows, okay, that's been ordered prior to that. That's going to be here. So when you add that to this here, that'll make the 569. Okay, so just so you know how that gets calculated, it's relatively simple once you understand how it works. Let's suppose I look at this and I say, you know what? That's not what I want. I don't like that. It didn't come out the way I want. Now, typically when you do this, you may thumb through your pots and you may look at it and say, you know what, maybe it's stocking too much. Maybe it's not stocking enough. Well, anytime you want, you can say, okay, I don't like what it did. So you know what I want to do? I hit escape, update temporary orders. No, I didn't make any changes to it. I don't even want to use it. I don't like it. I'm going to hit the escape key and get out of here. And I'm going to go back and say, I don't like what it did. I want to change my formula and do it again. So let's go into change ordering formula. Let's go into create ordering formula number 1. And we're going to say Yamaha. And this is what we did, a 4-week stocking level based on this. Now, suppose that ordered too much. I can change these numbers relatively easy. Or maybe I want to order more. Let's do this here. Let's go in and say I want to look at 3-month stocking level. And this time I'm going to make it 3 months level. Now that's going to increase it. That's obviously going to make that number much, much higher. Now we're looking at 3-month stocking level, still looking at the same statistics, which are 3 months. And, now let's go in and just say I want to create a computer suggested order. And I just want to do it for Yamaha. And I'm going to hit F12 to process it. Now what it'll do, it'll go back and say, okay, whenever you regenerate a computer suggested order, it'll go out to the one that you have out there that you haven't ordered yet, get rid of all the computer suggested ones because obviously you didn't like it, and give you a new one. So let's go and look at it. Now, obviously we're ordering a lot more. And if we look at this, and it's the exact same thing. It's just math. It tells you exactly how it figured that out. It'll add those numbers together, come up with that total, which was actually 1706, and then subtract the 15 from it and say that's what you should order. So you can change this, obviously you can change this as much as you want until you critique it so it's ordering similar to what you would do. Hey, if I was looking at what was selling and I was making a decision, that's pretty much what I would do. So let's go in and do that one more time. I don't like it again. I'm going to get out of here. I don't want to order this. What I want to do, I want to go in and change it again. And I'm just going to go into Yamaha. And maybe I want to go backwards, or maybe I want to look at the same thing, and maybe I'm going to go 4 months. Let's go backwards this time. I'm going to do -4. Now, if you just bought the system, this is something that you may want to do, because you don't have that history. Obviously, once you use the system for a year, it really is going to be much better to look at your history because that'll take care of seasonal trends. So keep that in mind. Like what will automatically happen without you doing anything is that if it sees that it's getting to be maybe September and October and it sees that your demand is getting less and less because it's looking at what you did the prior year, it's going to have your inventory stock less and less and your orders will automatically get smaller. So you'll be tying up less money. It'll automatically recognize that, look at that filter. Maybe in July you need to have 50 of them on the shelf. But in January you only need 5. So it'll make it so you won't be tying up a lot of cash just sitting on your inventory where it's going to be sitting there for 3 or 4 months where you'd be able to use that cash for something more meaningful. So you'll see your orders automatically get smaller as demand goes down. You'll see your orders automatically increase as your season starts coming into play. So if you're looking 3 months ahead, it'll start beefing your inventory up. You'll see your orders get bigger and bigger. So you'll be tying up your cash when you know you're going to be making the sales, rather than tying up cash realizing that the sale's not going to happen until 6 months from now. So this is a valuable tool. But keep in mind, if you don't have any sales history to work from, then you probably want to go backwards. Now I'm going to hit -4 here. And, I'm going to go with the 4-week stocking level. Now, if you just got the system, if you go with a 4-month stocking level, which is probably what you'd want to do, what that'll do, it may order a little bit more than you want sometimes, but you can review it and check it out and change it. But what that'll do is if you started off with 10 or something on the shelf, as you're selling things, the minute you get down to that 50% plateau using something like this, it's going to say, look, if I sold 5, the minute I get less than 5, it's going to say, okay, you need some more because your stocking level is going to be more than your demand. It's going to see that, okay, I started with 10, I'm down to 5, it's going to put you right back up there. And so it's going to be ordering parts on a regular basis. So doing something like this might be a good idea if you just got the software and you just want to keep track of, hey, what's moving? I want to know what's moving. I want to make sure I don't run out of anything. What this will do, it'll make it so that you don't run out of any particular part. There again, I'm going to have my minimum sell price. Hey, if I don't sell 2, don't worry about it. And same thing with my special orders. And so now I've got a different type of a formula here. Now, let's go in and do a computer suggested order. And I'm just going to type in Yamaha, and I'm going to hit F12. And now we're going to hit computer suggested order computer recap. And so now we've got a different number here. And let's see, okay. Okay, so now what we're doing is obviously we've got this number here, which is the 543. We went backwards here, so now we're looking at this, and we subtracted the 15, and now we've come up with 546. So you can kind of get a good feel of how this works. Now, some of the other things, if you're in this screen, obviously you can change this to whatever you want. You can go here and say, look at, let me go in and look and see what I've got in here. Maybe you're using min-max and you want to change it and then do it again. Well, you can go right here and change it. You know, so you have the ability to go right to here if you wish. You can go in and check out sales history. Who's been buying this pot? They'll tell me every customer that's buying. Is that customer that just bought 543? You can look at lost sales. You can look at returns. Any special orders that we may have for this pot. And you can set up alternate numbers. Okay. So that's a computer suggested order. And there again, if you need to make changes. For example, let's go in and look at a computer suggested order with more pots, and I want to make some changes to it. Let's show you how that'll work. I'm back here looking at my template here. And let's take a look at this one here. Now there's a lot of pots on here. And they're all generated by the computer. Now if I want to make adjustments or changes to this, I can click on this here. And we can look at our sales. We can look at what we want to do. And maybe I'm looking at this and saying, I don't want to order. I want to change my mind. I can change that to anything I want. I'm going to change that to 0. On this one, it's actually telling me, hey, there are 4 different suppliers I can order this pot from. I can order it from my main supplier, and it's going to cost me $1.11. I can order it from this supplier here, and it's going to be 87 cents. Maybe I want to change my supplier right here. I'm going to type in 3. Now, when I type in 3, it's going to come up here because it knows there's more than one supplier. It's going to say, okay, do you want to change who you want to order this from? If I click here, it's going to take it out of this manufacturer's order and now put it into this manufacturer here. It automatically goes to the next one in line. So it's going down that list that we were looking at, and it stays in this particular area so I can kind of review it and make intelligent decisions. If I say I want to change that to 1, I'm going to hit 1 and hit enter. The minute I hit enter, it goes to the next pot, the O-ring. Now if I hit 0 here, I don't want to order anything, it'll go to my next pot. So it goes from O-ring now to a sleeve. If I want to order that, and there again, it's making intelligent decisions. You can look at what the order is going to be, how much you have in stock, obviously the last date you sold it, the last date you ordered it. Now this is something that we manually forced in there, so obviously we don't have any sales here, but we manually put this in so you can see how it works. If we were using a min-max, we could see what the numbers were, so we can kind of see how this whole thing was calculated. And you can go in and just change whatever you want to change here. Now, when I'm done and I hit the escape key, it's going to bring me back to that list of all my pots. Now obviously the number went down. The ones that I made 0 are not here anymore. But maybe I just want to select certain pots. For example, I'm looking at this crankshaft. Do I really need 3 of them? They cost $406. Well, I can click on that and say, you know what? I really don't want 3 of those. So I don't want to order that. Now it goes immediately to my next pot. Maybe I just want to go back here. Now my order's down to $2,700. So whether you want to just scan through each line item or just pick the ones that you want. Here's a $67 pot. Maybe I would just want to look at that one, and maybe I want to change that to 0. Or I can just stay right in here and make intelligent decisions. No, I don't want to do that, or I want to change that to 1. I want to change that to 3. I want to change that to 1. If I need to look at anything else, obviously I can do so. If I want to set up an alternate number, I can go in and say, okay, I know I can buy this from another supplier. I can click here and enter a new supplier. You can do that by entering a pot number, and let's enter one. We're just going to go here, and we'll enter a pot number here. It will not be the same type product, but you'll get the idea. And I'm going to hit the tab key, and I'm going to type in the vendor code of that supplier. So this is the pot number of this supplier, some other company I know I can buy this from. And is the vendor. And it went out and got the price. So if I buy it from that other supplier, it's going to cost me $38. If I buy it from this supplier, it's going to be $34. So now we've added what we call another supplier. So now I can pick and choose suppliers. Maybe I want to order from this other supplier. So I'm just going to click OK. I want to change it to 1, and I want to pick this other supplier. And it goes right to my next pot. And so now we've got a $1,400 order. So now I've made some adjustments to this. When I hit the escape key to exit, it's going to say, do I want all these changes? Yes, I want to update it. If I say no, it's going to put it right back to the way it was. Now when I said update, what it's going to do, it's going to take out all the ones that I said I don't want to order, and now just give me an order of just the stuff that I wanted to order. Obviously, I reduced it from $3,000 to $1,400. It's going to take the pots that I said don't order from this supplier and put them into another vendor's order. So let's do that. And now it'll give me a report telling me what it did. These are the pots that we're actually going to be ordering, and the ones that we zeroed out is telling me, hey, I zeroed those things out. They're not going to show up on your order. These are the ones that I moved to another vendor. We moved this to vendor 100. That's the order number that's going to move to. And that's also 100 for a different vendor there. So you can see exactly what's been moved over to what particular vendor. So if we go back in there now, that's our Yamaha order. And here's the one that we've just done here. Now notice the amount's quite a bit different. Now all we have are the pots that we reduced this order dramatically. All the other pots have been taken off this order. Okay, so that's generating a computer suggested order. There again, once you want to order it now, and I'm saying, okay, I want to send this order in. I know what this order is. I want to send it in to Yamaha or whatever. It's pretty simple. You're going to right-click the order. Right-click. It says, okay, what do you want that order number to be? Now, the computer assigned what it calls a suggested one of 100. We can change that to whatever we want, or we can keep it to whatever it is. I'm just going to make it this here. It doesn't really matter. Most of the time, you're better off letting the computer generate it for you. And now it says, is this order finalized? Yes, it is. The order will be finalized as it stands now, which basically means, okay, I just told the computer I sent this order in. Now, this goes back exactly like we did special orders. It's going to say, well, how did you send it in? I can print it out, and here's a printout of it. That's just that one pot, 556. Now I can either email it, I can fax it, or I can send it electronically. Now we've gone over that in a prior chapter. So if you're going to send it electronically, there again, it would have came up with this screen here, and you would have sent it in electronically, which we've gone over in a prior chapter. Or you can email it or fax it. So it's been assigned a computer number. It's now sitting in this area here. So now it is not a suggested order anymore. It's sitting in here waiting to be received. Okay. That concludes generating a computer suggested order. So keep in mind, you can go into here and change the ordering formula as much as you want. You can go in here and create the order as much as you want. Whenever you create a new ordering formula, it will completely delete the other one and put in a brand new one. Now, if you come up with an order that you really don't even want to generate it, you just don't like what it's doing, and you just want to say, look, I want to get it out of my system. I don't want to make that order. I don't want to do anything to do with that order. You also have these things here, delete suggested order. What that means is it's asking you a question. Do I want to delete the whole order? This is an order that we haven't ordered yet. It's a suggested order, and that's what's happening here. We're putting it into kind of a clipboard, and we're saying we haven't ordered this yet. we're just thinking about ordering it. And when I make the decision to say finalize it, that's when we're actually ordering it and sending the order in. And you may run a computer suggested order and maybe you just didn't order enough pots. You say, well, I'll wait till tomorrow. I don't want to order until I get $1,000 worth of an order. So you may want to run it every day. Maybe one day you get $500, next day you get $800, the next day you get $1,100. Okay, I want to send my order in. I know I get free freight if it's over $1,000. So that you may want to be doing this on a regular basis. If by chance you say, look, I want to get rid of, I have a lot of pots that I need to order that are for customers, they're special order pots. I don't want to anything to do. I want to send the order in and I don't want the computer suggested orders to be in there at all. Well, you can go in there and say, I want to delete the computer generated orders. And if you type in the vendor, well, I ordered all those. Let's type in this one here. So I can go in and say I want to delete all of that vendor. These are the ones that we actually created today. Remember, it created 3 orders. One from that supplier and then also these 2 suppliers here. If you want to delete it, it's only going to delete the computer generated portions of that order. If there are anything that you manually typed in, that you manually went in and said, hey, I want to order 10 of these, I want to order 5 of these, obviously it doesn't touch that. Anything that you did, it will never ever delete unless you pick this option here that says delete entire order for a vendor. Okay. So that kind of concludes just generating a computer suggested order. On the next chapter, we're going to go into a little bit more detail of some of the other options of actually combining the computer suggested order with your special order and sending them in all together. So you'll be getting that in the next chapter. Okay. This concludes chapter 1.